History often turns not on what did happen, but on what almost did. Imagine a world in which the Soviet Union does not retreat eastward, does not reorganize beyond the Urals, but instead formally capitulates in 1942 or 1943. Moscow falls, the central government collapses, and an armistice is signed under German terms. For Adolf Hitler, such a victory would not have meant peace. It would have marked the beginning of a vast and unstable occupation stretching from the Baltic to the Caucasus. The Reich would suddenly control immense territory, but not a unified state. Instead, it would inherit ruins, famine, and a population measured in hundreds of millions. The Soviet military would fragment. Some units would surrender, others would disappear into forests, mountains, and cities, transforming the war into a permanent insurgency. Rail lines would be sabotaged, administrators assassinated, supplies poisoned. Victory on paper would turn into exhaustion on the ground. Economically, the conquest would promise much and deliver little. Oil from the Caucasus would take years to restore. Industry dismantled or destroyed could not simply be restarted. The German war economy, already stretched, would now be forced to police an entire continent. Politically, Germany would face an unsolvable dilemma. Direct rule would require manpower it did not have. Puppet regimes would lack legitimacy. Ethnic policies would provoke constant resistance. The ideology that drove the invasion would actively sabotage any attempt at stability. Meanwhile, the rest of the world would not stand still. Britain would remain at war, now supported by an even more alarmed United States. With the Eastern Front resolved, German forces could be redeployed. But not fully. Too many divisions would be tied down, suppressing revolts, guarding infrastructure, and securing supply routes thousands of kilometers long. The United States, unchallenged industrially, would accelerate its military buildup. Strategic bombing would intensify. Atomic research would proceed with urgency. The absence of a Soviet counterweight would not reduce Western resolve, it would increase it. By the late 1940s, the world might divide not into two blocks, but into three. A German-dominated Eurasia plagued by internal instability, an Anglo-American industrial alliance across the oceans, and a vast zone of resistance movements stretching across the former Soviet lands. Without a surviving Soviet state, there would be no Cold War as we know it, but also no peace. Instead, the post-war world would be defined by endless occupation, technological escalation, and permanent low-intensity conflict. In this scenario, victory would not end history. It would only prolong the collapse, slower, wider, and far more uncertain. History avoided this path not because it was impossible, but because it was unsustainable. And unsustainable victories, sooner or later, defeat themselves.